If Russia is planning a military escalation in Ukraine, today's Russian papers don't really reflect that. The Russian government paper Rossiyskaya Gazeta leads with Putin in China and Russian gold in the Winter Olympics. Tensions over Ukraine are on page 6. The paper describes a dangerous situation provoked by endless aggressive statements coming out of Washington. Similarly, the popular pro-government tabloid Komsomolskaya Pravda leads on the Olympics. Events in Ukraine are on pages 6 and 7. Novaya Gazeta, often critical of the Russian authorities, doesn't seem to have anything about Ukraine or East-West tension. What today's papers do reflect, I think, is Moscow's attitude to various European leaders. So, for example, Nezavisima Gazeta has quite a complimentary article about French President Macron, who meets Putin today in Moscow and who's seeking a diplomatic breakthrough. Who, if not Macron? After the departure of German Chancellor Angela Merkel, there are no other politicians capable of talking on the same level with the President of Russia. The paper suggests that if the talks go well, this could help Macron achieve personal leadership in a truly autonomous Europe, something Macron has long been seeking and moving towards. Then Russia would have the kind of interlocutor it's lacked in Europe since Merkel left, someone capable of taking responsibility and initiative in difficult situations. Compare that to the headline in the pro-Kremlin Izvestia, "Where's Scholz?" The writer criticises the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. In 2 months as Chancellor, the Social Democrat hasn't made a single memorable statement or done anything. He's turned Germany into an outsider on the international stage at a time when the world is suffering one of the most serious crises between East and West. Mind you, it's worse for Boris Johnson in the government paper Rossiyskaya Gazeta. Johnson, goodbye. Then there's this article in Komsomolskaya Pravda today, which asks, will the European Union fall apart quicker than the USSR did? The Kremlin is no fan of the EU, preferring to deal with individual countries in Europe and to drive wedges between different European states. One other interesting thing today, the government paper is gushing over Sino-Russian relations. Friendship between Russia and China knows no bounds. But Nezavisima believes the joint statement revealed contradictions between Moscow and Beijing. China does not recognise Crimea being attached to Russia and wants to retain links with Ukraine. Similarly, Moskovsky Komsomolets concludes that the aim of the joint Russian-Chinese statement
Of course, everyone's looking towards the next week to try and see what diplomatic efforts might be possible. Of course, we've got President Macron arriving today, and he has been emphasising the fact that diplomacy is still possible. He's talking in relatively positive terms, talking about the fact that he thinks a deal with Russia might still be on the table. The main key gist of this is that he's pointing out that while Russia's security concerns are valid and it's important to discuss them, that of course the sovereignty of Ukraine has to be integral to all of these conversations. The problem that I think a lot of the Western leaders have got on this at the moment is that they have to remain diplomatic, remain being able to keep Russia at the table, but also, of course, sound firm on Russia and, of course, try and find some form of solution. Now, there have been concerns from both France and from the US about a continued build-up of Russian troops. They've now accused Russia of having 110,000 troops on the border. And in response, we heard from President Biden saying that he's offered 3,000 American troops, the first of which arrived in Poland yesterday. Now, I think one of the key points as well is that they're also concerned about the fact that President Putin has moved the strategic nuclear forces drills that were meant to normally happen in autumn. They've been moved further towards February and March. But of course, diplomatic efforts still continuing here, Russia continuing to insist that it has no plans to launch an invasion.